And good morning, Bill Handel here on a Monday morning, September 20th, as we are getting close to ending the month. And when does fall start?
September 22nd. I thought it was tomorrow, but apparently it's not till Wednesday.
I have no idea. Anyway, good morning to you, Amy and Alex and Tyler and Wayne running around someplace. Man, what a story this is. Gabby Petito's body, not officially, because the way the authorities work is until identification is certain, usually testing with DNA or dental records or witnesses, family witnesses. But at this point, we haven't had a full final, yeah, it's her. Jim Ryan has been covering this case. And Jim, you know, this has to be one of the most fascinating criminal cases you've seen in a while.
Well, yeah, and partly because it was so well chronicled. You know, Gabby Petito and her fiance, Brian Laundrie, have been chronicling their trip across the country. They started in New York State in a white van, wanted to tour the western United States and national parks out there, and they'd been doing that, posting video to Facebook and images to Instagram, even a police stop in Utah. And during that stop, we know that Gabby Petito had talked with officers, and this is seen on body cam video, about the disagreement she had been having. So, it all kind of piles up into a really bizarre story. We know yesterday on the eastern fringe of Grand Teton National Park, a body was found. And you're right, Bill, the assumption is that it is the body of Gabby Petito. We should have some definitive identification within the next couple of days.
Incidentally, as we speak, the FBI are at the boyfriend's family home right now. They've all lined up in front. And when they pick him up, and certainly they will, to interview him, if he just shuts up and there is no DNA connection or other connection with the murder and Laundrie, where are they going to go?
Well, that's a good question. Will they have enough evidence elsewhere, circumstantial evidence or anything else to point in any direction? Brian Laundrie's been the subject of an intense search for the last few days. Last Tuesday, he sort of vanished. He dropped off the face of the earth. He had an attorney who said that he would do the talking for his client. The family at some point decided not to speak with police either. And now we know that Laundrie himself has gone missing. The police were intensifying their search yesterday, Bill, in a wildlife preserve in Florida, in Sarasota County, Florida, 24,000-acre Carlton Reserve. We know now, and the ABC has gotten emails from the police there saying they don't intend to resume that search today because they feel they've, quote, exhausted all their leads. Even as big as that place is, they said the dogs simply did not pick up any scent at all of Brian Laundrie.
I want to point something out. It is not illegal to disappear.
No.
You are allowed to travel this country safely from state to state. And, of course, that is a constitutional issue. And so what are they going to do? They're going to interview him. He shuts up. His family shuts up, all of which is perfectly legal. And the problem is the fact that he wouldn't cooperate, the fact that he's on the run, he disappeared. What does that make everybody think?
Well, it's hard to say. I mean, he is considered at least a person of interest. And, and besides, even if he doesn't say anything, even if any suspect refuses to speak to police, the detectives will find some other piece of evidence there at the scene where the body was found, perhaps. Maybe something in that white van that points in a direction that leads to them to Brian Laundrie or to somebody else altogether. So you're right. I mean, he doesn't have to say anything to police at all. It's up to the investigators to find other evidence that points in a direction of a suspect, no matter who it is, Bill.
Once I can't wait for them being able to pick him up and sitting down and going, what's going on? What's going on? He just said, I'm not talking to you. Incidentally, pleading guilty or not talking to the police. Let me rephrase that. Not talking to the cops. And they have a hard time putting together the circumstantial evidence, or sometimes it's not circumstantial. DNA evidence is not circumstantial. That's a direct piece of evidence. And, of course, everybody thinks he's guilty. And I'm assuming you've done enough stories on police and police activity. As soon as someone shuts up and bails, just leaves, do the police automatically say, yeah, this guy's guilty? It's a hinky case. Is that what normally happens?
No, I mean, the police aren't the ones who make that determination anyway. They can call him a suspect and say he's under arrest and being questioned about this case. It's up to a jury to decide whether he's guilty or not. So it's a long process, Bill, that between somebody being considered a, quote, person of interest and then eventually perhaps a suspect and then finally convicted of a crime. It's a long way down the road. But the first step is to find this guy, Brian Laundrie, ask him a few questions. The investigation is still going on at the site at Grand Teton, and they're at Laundrie's home in Florida. So, there's still a lot going on here, whether he's here or not.
Yeah, well, when you put all the pieces together, man, it doesn't look good for him at all. I mean, here he is. She disappears. Gabby disappears. He gets in the van. They were traveling across the country. Now they're in Wyoming. Drive back to Florida in the van and doesn't say a word to anybody. And when he becomes a person of interest, he just bails out of there. And I'm assuming that this has become, a national search. How many agencies are involved? Do you know?
Well, the main agency there in Florida is the one working in Sarasota, and they're the ones who have said we're done looking out here. That is the Northport Police Department there. But obviously, park rangers in Wyoming are looking. The FBI is interested in this case. I think there are investigators at just about every level, Bill, who are trying to find out what happened to Gabby Petito and then trying to find her fiancé.
And do we know whether Brian Laundrie is a survivalist, that he's had experience out there in the woods and catching rabbits and snakes and alligators and whatever the hell they do out there?
Well, he has experience in the Carlton Reserve as a hiker, so I think that to some degree he's familiar and he's comfortable being in a situation like that or in that kind of environment. But at least to hear the police tell it, their dogs and they couldn't find any trace of him there. So where is he?
Yeah, well, they'll find him. You get a little lonely once you're out, a little lonely once you're out there in the woods
and hungry.
Yeah, and no cable TV. I mean, what do you do with that? All right, Jim, thank you. We'll no doubt talk again.